Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here. Johnson, they know they got a problem, right? Because the package came in. He got everything he told them that he wanted sent in. He got it all. But it didn't come in at the spot that they thought it was going to come in. They had to have a problem on the whole compound. It had to be this same situation being replicated somewhere else on the compound. It had to be. But where? So now the guys know they got a problem. They know they got a problem. And they got to figure out who. And everybody's saying the same thing. It got to be Johnson, man. This man been trying to find out hard where and how this stuff has been coming in. He been trying to find out too hard. And they ain't never had no situation where they have a fire drill and then they see somebody up at the cell with the window out. Never. And when you thinking like that, your mind, you paranoid, everything means something. Everybody is suspect. And Johnson is suspect now because he's been asking too many questions. So they bump down on him. Not knowing who he really is. They don't really care about that. It's no reason to care about that. They don't know. So when they bump down on him, they tell him, we know it's you. And he looks at him. Like I say, he's already made his bones, you know what I'm saying? When a couple of guys tried to jump him when he first came in, he held his own, he took his lick, he didn't say nothing to the police. So they don't have any reason to believe he's the police. So they bumping down on him like he's an inmate. And they telling him, man, look here, you've been running your mouth for something, somebody knows something, because there ain't no way that this was supposed to happen. And you've been wanting to know how we was doing it, and now somebody's at the window. And he told him, he said, I still don't know how you're doing it. Because they never told him it was a drone. They never told him it was a drone. He said, tell me how you doing it, and then you can blame me for all of this stuff, but you ain't told me how you're doing it. Now he knew, because they had been watching, the police had. And they knew they hadn't told him. So now it made them more suspicious of each other. Somebody that knows had to have told them. But think about this, y'all. I want y'all to understand how the mind works, how the criminal mind works anyway, right? You be right on the money when you accuse Johnson of what's going on, right? But then because you left out one detail with him, it's automatic that it's not him and it's somebody else. And now you start to look at the people that you trust the most. The reason that is always a possibility when you're dealing with people that participate in the criminal activities is because we never, ever, ever truly trust each other. And when you never trust somebody, I'm talking about to the core, to the gut, that feeling you get in your stomach. When you never truly trust a person like that, it's always easy to manipulate people like that. But see, you got to understand, in the criminal lifestyle, it's not about trust, it's about performance. We confuse performance with trust. But we leave out the part that if it's not to my advantage, if it's not to the criminal's advantage, then all of that is out the window. It's all about what's in it for me. And sometimes when you have the trust of somebody, or you hope that they trust you, sometimes you do what's in their best interest and not yours because they trust you to do the right thing by them. But when you're in the criminal world, you do the right thing by you. That's why I say don't get in it. Don't get in it because it speaks more about who you really are versus who you should be, who you should aspire to be. But let's get back to Johnson. Johnson knew that it was only a matter of time before things fell apart. Because he knew that once they started to accuse him or anybody else in the circle, that they were going to continue to run it down until they figured out what was going on. Because the stakes are too high. This is something that had been passed down from guy to guy. Trusted that those in the criminal circle wouldn't violate that, wouldn't mess it up for the next man coming up. This is how it's supposed to be, right? So they didn't want to be the blame for it crashing. You got people on the streets that know about the move, been knowing about the move because that's what they did, and they left it to somebody else that they felt like was trustworthy and was down for the call, strictly criminal minded. The code is everything. And now they're going to be the blame for it falling apart. because they got manipulated and blindsided by an undercover. So he knew that he had to do something, and he had to do something fast before they figured it out. So he went to visit that weekend, and his gal came, fake girl, and his brother came, fake brother. They came up there, and he's running the story down to them about what happened when the brothers stepped to him and told him that they think it's him, and he flipped it around on them, and now they're suspicious of each other. They're trying to figure out their next move. And the next move is this. The next move is this. Get them to do it again and again and again until they can figure out where they're being dropped off other than the spot that they know about. They put out an alert to the TAC team, right? Put them in regular uniforms. Put them into pods. Got officers that they could trust to go cell to cell at the prison, looking for broken windows. Look for the windows that have been, disguised, but they were actually broken. All of this kind of stuff. They had to figure that out because they need to know where these things are being dropped off at, other than the spot that they know. They thought it was one spot. And now the tail on the geek guy on the street is around the clock. They got his phone tapped. They're watching everything that he does, every move that he makes. And they're following him. And he starts to notice something's off because brother done talked to him through a third party to let him know that something ain't right here. So he spooked. Anything that he sees out of the ordinary, he spooked. See, he's a tech guy, detail guy, so he knows that he's got to pay attention to all of this stuff. And that's what he's doing. So now, everything that happens is suspicious. And he sees some unmarked cars that seem to be following him. And he noticed them a couple of days in a row. See, and outside his apartment, he got cameras. He watches everything. It's just not, for fun. It's for his security. He sees a lot of these people that live in the area that he live in as threats to what he might have going because they have no idea the amount of money that he's making. But if they figured out how much money he was making doing what he was doing, then he might be robbed. So he wanted these cameras. But these cameras are now helping him see everything that's going on. And he notices this unmarked car has been outside his place 2 or 3 days in a row. And now he gets a picture of them. And he tells the brothers, look, somebody is following. Somebody's watching. So he tells them, what do you want me to do? So for the first time in years, they stopped. And they wanted to see who was going to push the issue first. And lo and behold, it was Johnson. Because the pressure's being put on him from his superiors. Make it happen. Get something done. But they didn't have enough other than what they had when the investigation first started to take these guys down. They wanted more than that. See, a lot of those guys like that, they chase publicity. They want the big headline. But they wasn't going to get no big headline because wasn't nobody doing nothing. They had shut the shop down. So now, what do? You push the issue. So Johnson shot his shot. He told him, he said, look, this is what we're going to do. I got an idea. And he tells me, he said, man, have you ever thought about trying to drone? So when he said that piqued their interest. They were like, why would you say something like that? Suspicious, for real. Suspicious is all they could be. And he said, well, if you fly something in, if we can get it over, they got the no-fly zone, but if we can get it over here, we can get that in like that. And they were like, well, I don't think it'll work. It's almost like they were playing chess against each other. He'll say something and they'll say something. He'll say something and they'll say something. And at the end of the day, brother and them shut him down. They shut him down. But they knew then and there that he was the one. They knew that he was the leak. Why would he suggest a drone? See, all of these guys, it's one thing about being locked up, y'all. When you've been locked up, you don't forget how the investigators got you. they start doing things to try to nudge you in certain directions. And see, when you get put in the penitentiary, those senses don't get dull, they get heightened. They get heightened. And now you're looking at a situation, these guys are looking at a situation where they think they're being played, but they don't know he's the police. They think he's another inmate. He probably trying to get out of the penitentiary. That's what they thought. He trying to get out the penitentiary. That's what's going on. He looking to set somebody up. He got caught, college student, life over, ain't gonna never be the same. Now he trying to get out of penitentiary, get back in good graces with these people. Nah, it ain't gonna work. Not on them. Not on them. So they make the call, y'all. They make the call. It's time to push. It's time to push. They send them goons after him. They push him off the compound. He go to the back. When he go to the back, his superiors, they get worried, right? Because they thinking if something happens to him, you know what I'm saying, what we gonna do? So they transfer him from that prison. They put him on the bus and they let everybody see it, right? When they put him on the bus. But guess what? Ain't nobody on that van that's an inmate, actual inmate. Everybody on that van is a police officer dressed in prison clothing. Everybody. So they think that the bus is full and he's being transferred to another facility. He's out of the prison system. It's back at the precinct. And then it gets serious. It gets really, really serious. They call in the lieutenant. She comes in. They're not giving up on this investigation. So what do? You know the girl I told you about? One of the guys that got popped with the 2 pills, they got her case dismissed. They pick her up. They ain't got nothing to charge her with because they done already made a deal with her, be dismissal charge and all this and that. But they know she worked down at that strip club. When she at the strip club, she trying to get her bread, selling them pills and stuff down there. You know how they do. So they got her. They take her down to the police station. They got in that box. Now that she's in the box, listen to me, y'all. Guess who walk out the back? Come in through the back. It's Johnson and the lieutenant and the brother, which is the police. They all walk in. She's sitting there. She's looking at them, mouth wide open, man. They all sit down in front of her on the other side of the table. And they say, you know why you down here? She leans back, like everybody, lean back in the chair, cross her arms in a defensive posture, and she said, I don't have nothing to say to y'all. So Johnson leaned up across the table. He said, you don't have to. He said, but I'm going to tell you what we're talking about. So he started running down to her everything that they knew, everything that they suspected, and every part of it that she was involved in. And she did what a lot of people on that side of the table said, well, if you had all that, I'd be under arrest. And they were like, you're right. But it won't be long before you are under arrest. And then let me tell you what happens after we put you under arrest. What you've been doing is a federal crime. I don't know if they told you that. But you could be sent away for a long time. They ain't put no number on it. They wanted her to imagine what number. You know what I'm saying? We'll go with that. But they said you can be sent away for a long time unless you do one thing. And it's only one thing that you can do to save yourself. And if you don't do it, that's on you. But if you do it, then you're going to be all right. Because you like to be out here, don't you? You like to be free. You're not the type of person that could make it in a cage. You're not that type of person. So the female jumped in, the lieutenant jumped in trying to play good cop. She said, look here, girl. Don't go down for now one of them. They wouldn't go down for you. You know that. Then she says she thinks about it for a while. And she said, am I under arrest? They said, no, you can leave. So she stood up. And she paused for a minute, like everybody. Paused for a minute. And then she walked out. And when she left the room, all 3 of them sat in there. And they said, give her a couple of days. We'll bump down on her again. Now this was a Wednesday. They didn't want her to get back into that prison and tell her dude what was going on. They were afraid that she would say it over the phone, so they had the prison block the phone call so she wouldn't be able to call up in there. You feel? So they grabbed her dude and put him in the hole. He can't even use a cell phone to talk or nothing. He cut off. The move was being executed to precision. A couple of days go by, it's a Friday. They pull her back down in and they say, have you made up your mind yet? And she said, can I get my man out of it? That's when they knew they had him. And if you want to know how they work the deal, you're going to have to tune in to the next episode, y'all. This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.